Now, I mentioned we were going to Boston. One of the founding members of UKIP is on a visit to Lincolnshire this afternoon. MEP Gerard Batten, the party's immigration spokesperson, is in Boston this afternoon and is in Skegness tomorrow. There's going to be a public meeting in Skegness tomorrow night. So live to Boston now because we can speak to Gerard Batten. I know you've only recently arrived, haven't you? Enjoying the site so far?
Well, it's a bit rainy, William, and it took me a bit longer on the A road than I expected, but it looks very nice. And we're going to have something to eat this evening, so looking forward to that.
Very good. Why are you here? Why are you making this visit to Lincolnshire?
Right, well, I was invited up to give a talk tomorrow evening in Skegness, which is at the Seaview pub, North Parade, at 7 o'clock, in support of our candidates in the European elections, which will soon be upon us in May. So it's really a talk to the general public, if they want to come, with questions and answers, so that we can talk about our policies and why it's important to vote UKIP in the European elections.
And of course, Boston, I mean, we were talking about immigration. Boston, you will know of, if you haven't already been there, you will know of all the issues surrounding immigration in Boston, won't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same in most places in the country now. I mean, I come from London, where we've probably got even higher rates of immigration than Boston. I'm aware you've got about 10% of the population now about migrants from the EU. If I could make it plain to your listeners that UKIP isn't opposed to immigration, to some immigration, but it should be a controlled immigration system. What we've got with the EU is uncontrolled and unlimited because we no longer control our borders. So we don't just get people that we might choose to take who want to work, fill skills that we can't actually meet in this country and jobs we can't fill from amongst our own unemployed, but we get anybody that wants to come, who also, unfortunately, are often criminals and benefits claimants as well. And we have no way of actually preventing them coming under EU law. And what we want to do is to re-establish border controls and a proper controlled immigration system.
Well, you're not going to be able to do that unless you get out of Europe, and that's what you'd like to see, is it?
That's precisely the point. That's why UKIP was set up 20 years ago, because we want to leave the EU and we want to re-establish our country as an independent, sovereign democracy.
In the meantime, surely you're pleased to hear that the government is saying it is going to be tougher on people that want benefit if they're coming over here. They're going to tighten up the benefit rules for EU migrants, aren't they?
Well, that's what they've said. That's the rhetoric. And, of course, they're only saying that because they're scared of the UKIP electoral threat. But they've already been told by an EU commissioner, Viviane Reding, and I don't often agree with the EU commissioner, but what she said is you cannot do this because under EU law you cannot discriminate against EU citizens, which is perfectly true. What worries me is that they'll actually tighten up the system for everybody so that it can cover EU migrants, and that might well affect British citizens who have a perfect valid reason for claiming benefits at a time in their life, and they'll actually make life harder for our own people in order to be seen to be trying to do something about people that they can't actually do anything about.
What Viviane Reding also said was that the government's making, you obviously are making a lot about it, but the government's making too much out of it because migration is good for a country and migrants put more into the economy than they take out. I mean, she made that point. She thought that the government maybe was talking about it too much to brush under the carpet some of the other real issues that we have to deal with at the moment.
Well, as I said, our migration system is unlimited and uncontrolled. If any one of your listeners wanted to go to America, Canada, USA, they would find that there were very stringent conditions about being allowed into work. You'd be on a limited work permit, and getting permanent residency or citizenship there is extremely difficult for a very good reason, which is that they know that they have to have a controlled immigration system in order for it to be positive and beneficial, not just for the migrant, but for the country. In regard to the economic situation, this really isn't the case that it's all beneficial to the economy. Some migration is, some people who come in with high skills to do jobs that are needed to be done. Yes, they do contribute to the economy. Lots of people are coming on very low wages, very often below the minimum rate because they're self-employed. Now, those people come in and they've not contributed anything to all the infrastructure, the roads, the schools, the housing, the hospitals, and that they get use of them. they're probably not paying tax. Even if they do pay tax, even if they do reach incomes that are taxable, they're probably still getting housing benefit and things like that. So the idea that that is a positive input to the economy is just nonsense.
When you take it up a little scale, not just on the street, when you talk to some businesses in Lincolnshire, like Siemens, we have a big Siemens plant in Lincoln, they say, and we've asked them about this, they say it would be bad for the UK to pull out of Europe. I mean, does UKIP understand big business?
Well, you need to understand big business because they lobby the European Commission all of the time to get legislation which helps to force smaller businesses out of business because they can comply with it and smaller businesses can't. Plus, they always want endless supplies of cheap labour. Now, Albania is set to join the EU. They want Albania in, Kosovo, Serbia. They want Turkey to join. And what that means is endless waves of people who will work for less than the previous wave of people.
Well, hang on. Are there endless... Have you spotted any Bulgarians or Romanians since you've arrived in Boston? Because there were meant to be endless waves of them coming over from the 1st of January.
Nobody said they're all going to arrive on the 1st of January. What we've been saying consistently is that we gave 29 million people the right to come here if they wanted to, and they will over a period of time. We didn't say how many because we don't know. There's already lots here. There's already about at least 100,000, I think, because they were coming here and working as self-employed. In London, where I live now, I don't know the nationality of the people because I haven't been able to ask. We had people living in the bushes outside of my house now, going through my rubbish bins. Some of them were actually on the TV a couple of weeks ago. Fergal Keane on BBC Two just filmed a little way down from my house where we had a couple of Lithuanian drug addicts living rough in a little homemade encampment. We've got that all over the country now, and that's because we don't control who can come.
Let me just ask you about UKIP in Lincolnshire. You did very well in the local elections in Lincolnshire, although, as you know, the party's had its problems in Lincolnshire since. Can we expect a high-profile UKIP figure to stand for Parliament in Boston next year?
Well, the constituency will choose their member, or their candidate, sorry. We haven't got round to that yet. We're concentrated on the European elections at the moment, but I think it's seen as a good prospect for UKIP. And, of course, we've got a by-election at the moment in Wythenshawe, which is on the 13th of February. Now, we're going to put all our effort into that at the moment, because what I've been saying for years is the minute that we win our first parliamentary seat, it breaches the dam and it negates this argument that, we can't vote UKIP because you can't win. Well, once we win a by-election seat, then we can see the floodgates open, I think, and get members elected to Parliament all around the country. And I think Boston is a very good bet for us in the next general election. Just
remind us where you're going to be tomorrow night, Skegness.
Skegness, it is at the Seaview pub, North Parade at 7 p.m. and it'll be me, but and also other candidates from UKIP, giving a little talk and then doing questions and answers.
Very good. Thanks for talking to us.
You're more than welcome.
Gerard Batten is an MEP for UKIP. He's the party's immigration spokesperson on a trip to Lincolnshire today and tomorrow. Just gone 5:30 on BBC Radio Lincolnshire.